That's bro. Good afternoon, you wee bastards, and welcome back to another War Thunder devlog video with Koala. Today, it's Britain's turn. We can all rejoice. No? Just me? Don't care, we're doing this anyway. So, the FV510 Warrior, a new British support vehicle coming to War Thunder's top rank in update 1.81, the Valkyries. It's quite an interesting vehicle in and of itself. It's got some great historical backing to it. Can I even call it historical when this vehicle is still being used today by its developing nation? Either way, rich history, some discussion about its expected performance in-game, and a little controversy to top it all off nicely. Apparently that's something we do now on the channel. But if you think for one moment that I'm not going to use this random devlog to spring into a long-winded discussion about the meaningfulness of this vehicle for future development in the game, extrapolating the information, talking about what it might mean, and probably taking things way too far, you must be new here. Actually, speaking of new, thank you guys a ton for all your support in the last video. It was insane, and hello to all of the new subscribers. Anyway, onto the British Army's mobile biscuit barrel, the Warrior. This IFV was developed in the late 1970s to early 80s as a replacement for the FV-432 armoured personnel carrier, much like the Bradley was originally designed as an APC to replace the M113. The vehicle's design stipulated that it must be able to keep up with the new FV-4030 Challenger tanks, which at 75 kph, the Warrior is easily capable of. The thing is designed as a standard IFV, with a multi-purpose cannon capable of dishing out punishment to infantry and other lightly armed vehicles, and even harassing main battle tanks with close-range side shots. The Warrior was used considerably in Operation Desert Storm. God, you guys know how much it thrills me to be able to talk about Desert Storm in a War Thunder sense these days. Gaijin, more desert maps at top tier, please. Desert Storm saw warriors which, like contemporary IFVs, had practically non-existent armor protection, equipped with oblique composite armor, the very well-known Chopham armor fitted to the Abrams Challenger and many other modern armored fighting vehicles. This allowed it to remain safe against small arms and RPGs, and would render the vehicle much better protected against other IFVs and potentially mines as well. It wouldn't, however, be worth much against hostile MBTs. Even older generation ones like the T-3045 would slice through the limited armor like a hot knife through butter. Ugh. Of course, equipping more armor would have taken away mobility and severely limited this vehicle's role as an IFV, turning it more into a tank with extremely low firepower. I'm going to make a separate video fairly soon on IFVs in general, specifically focusing on the American Bradley, as the design is quite an interesting talking point. For now, we'll stick with the British version of the Bradley until that vehicle rears its head in our game. After Desert Storm, the Warrior's lackluster capabilities in comparison to the very similar Bradley were rectified when the British provided the vehicle with the Milan ATGM atop the turret. This was something that had to be fired by the commander, which left him vulnerable, but it did give the Warrior some much needed anti-tank capabilities. The cannon, firing 3 shot clips and penetrating 110mm of armor, may prove quite useful in game with helicopters coming in, more on that in a moment. And the vehicle also has twin 4-barrel smoke grenade launchers. Now, I didn't get much of a chance to play around on the dev server for patch 1.81, so I'm not too familiar with the penetration of the Milan ATGM. I believe it's 580mm, that seems to ring a bell, but do let me know down in the comments if I'm mistaken. Somebody on my Discord has also mentioned the potential of the Milan 2, which was apparently a modification upgrade for the Warrior on the second dev server, but due to the technical difficulties, I didn't even manage to get on the second dev server, so I've no idea. On the first one, I spent most of my time playing around with helicopters, I'll admit. Guardian's wording of the devlog for this vehicle makes it sound as if we may only get the second iteration of the Milan, which has 730mm of penetration, and can be made even higher with a standoff probe, which, funnily enough, is modelled on the images from the devblog, but that could be just Guardian messing things up again. In-game, the Warrior is, in my opinion, only very slightly better than the BMP-2, barely even worthy of a BR difference, given the comparatively slow fire rate of its gun, which has the same penetration rates as the Russian equivalent. The ATGM on the BMP-2 is better than the Milan, and the only other noticeable difference I can find that will affect the performance of this thing in-game is that the BMP-2 has hull break, while the Warrior does not. Yes, the British vehicle has comparatively a lot more armour than the BMP, but as I said, tank shells even from very low BR opponents will still low pin this thing anywhere. One characteristic of this armour that I believe Fly brought up was that 90mm heat shells from the RU-251 and Jagdpanther 4.5 won't penetrate the Chopham armour, but at 8.3 where this tank was placed, it'll never see vehicles firing those shells, aside from when they have been artificially up to. Either way, with more elevation and both a better main gun and missile, I think the BMP-2 and Warrior definitely belong at the same medal rating at least, while the existing German Begleitpanzer, the counterpart to these vehicles, sits one higher at 8.7. having by far a better main gun and the best missile of the three. The only downside to that vehicle over these is its stock missile, which Gaijin isn't very good at balancing vehicles based on stock performance. Look at the Leopard 1A1 for example. As I said in my video on the BMP2, lowering these vehicles' battle ratings may not actually improve their performance by much, but funnily enough, if the FV510 Warrior does receive the Milan 2 ATGM, especially with the standoff probe, it could be the best of these vehicles, at least until the Bradley is released. Without it, I don't see this vehicle struggling too much, but as I've already said in my videos, ATGMs don't work when you have Australian internet to deal with. It will sure suck for me. The speed of this vehicle at 8.3 is a fantastic feature, not much rivals you up there, and it should really help it in its role, but up tiers from that point won't be too friendly for this thing. I think 8.3 is a good battle rating for it, barring the Milan 2, which should put it up to 8.7, and the BMP2 should sit at 8.3 as well. Having said that, keep these things in your lineups, even at top tier, particularly for anti-helicopter duty. Of course, battle ratings aren't final on the dev server. You guys are probably getting sick of hearing me say that, but if I don't say it, someone's going to get salty at me in the comments like, oh my god, it's only the dev server. I know. Guys, any part of these vehicles' performance, their battle ratings, anything could change. So keep that in mind. Now it's time to discuss what this vehicle might mean for the future of the game, because we got to do one of these every update apparently. Maybe I should make it a standard section of these videos, kind of like the shooting range. Let me know in the comments. Actually, this time, it's not just this vehicle. We're getting 2 new IFVs this patch so far, coupled with the few we already did have, and the TAM, if you want to count that as well. We're also getting helicopters, which will easily be the most significant part of this update, unless Gaijin decides to blindside us this week with Italian tanks or something. We'll probably have spaceships before we have them. The ATGM carriers we have in-game may see much more use with helicopters and these small nimble IFVs being brought out, and all this means that top tier may be about to get very diverse, with much more of the strategic meta that we've been missing out on at those battle ratings so far, ever since patch 1.71. The way these IFVs, ATGM carriers, helicopters, jets and MBTs will all interact with each other will really be a great way to shake things up, so all I can say is when these vehicles are released, go play them. Because your warrior will have BMP2s, Raketen Jagdpanzers, AMX-13 HOTs and helicopters to shoot at, as well as the MBTs you're expecting to see. Sub 9.0, these things will prove fast enough that engaging them in a long range will be difficult without an ATGM of your own, and they'll prove ripe targets for helicopters. Helicopters will struggle to take on most of the MBTs frontally, and can't afford to get too close or hang around for too long, for fear of radar SPAA picking them off inside 2 seconds flat. So for helicopters to spot these things, they'll be thinking, snack. However, with these IFVs likely struggling to combat MBTs frontally as well, they'll be thinking the same thing when the helicopters start flying over. The MBTs will obviously still be the main force behind the battle, but depending on the map, you have some real good reasons to consider driving one of these out first. And if others are doing the same, which you guys should be, you'll have plenty of shit to kill, even given your shortcomings as a frontline combat vehicle. If you guys couldn't already tell, I love support vehicles. CAS, helicopters, IFVs, even regular old light tanks now that they have the scouting ability. They bring a sense of teamwork and macro strategy to the game that would otherwise just be running around shooting whatever moves and capturing the occasional zone. I hope as many people as possible see this video and because of it make a special point to not just always jump into their top tier MBT first and treat everything else as backups for when you die. Seriously guys, play these support vehicles out. I want to be able to kill some shit when I play mine. These vehicles will be great fun and they look so goddamn cool. The more of them we get, the more useful they'll be. The FV Striker, M551, IT-1, Raketen Jagdpanzer, they'll also see a lot more use, which will provide more options for CAS and helicopters. And this will hopefully bring a lot more to the gameplay of top tier tanks. I'm mega excited for their introduction. This update is looking to go down as one of the best ever, and I was literally just as I was scripting this video off chatting with people on Discord about other potential IFVs that we should see introduced in the next update if not this one. I'm talking about the American Bradley of course, as well as the Japanese Type 89, French AMX-10RC, the German Puma and Weasel, even the Italians have the perfect counterpart in the Dardo. There's the very famous LAV-25 and Striker, and even the Warrior Combat Sustainment Program designed to bring this vehicle into even greater effectiveness, mounting a 40mm main gun and firing the American Javelin ATGM from the remodeled Delco turret. That's something that we could see as a 9.0, 9.3 IFV later down the line, and that prospect thrills me. I hope all of these vehicles get added soon. I assume the legendary Bradley will be Gaijin's next port of call, but at this stage it's looking unlikely for 1.81. Nevertheless, as I said before, I'm super excited for this patch. It looks like it's going to be one of the best, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Went a little off track there, but there you have it. The British Bradley, the military tea kettle, the warrior. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and come follow me at all the links in the description below. Always remember, keep your bagpipes to hand, your kilt on, and I will see you lads next video.